My name is Ishika Kumari. I'm a proud careers and preparations team member at Internshala, and it's my pleasure to welcome you all in today's mock interview session. And we are honored to have Ms. Kudrat Sharma, Assistant Vice President of Careers and Partnership team at Internshala. Kudrat will be leading today's session, and with over 12 years of experience in education industry, Ms. Sharma is an expert in resume and cover letter creation and has over 7 years of experience as a soft skill trainer and a seasoned career counselor. So, as we begin today's session, let me share a thought to set the stage. And that is my personal favorite also, that the key to success in an interview is not perfection, but it is preparation, confidence, and willingness to learn. So we look forward to a valuable and insightful session today. So all right. So before we begin the session, Kudrat, I have a few questions to ask to you. So, Kudrat, let's say if you were a HR professional, and let's say if you're assessing me, so what key behavioral assessment criteria would you consider and why?
Sure, sure, Rishika. Thank you so much for the warm welcome, first of all. And
Pleasure.
I think these sessions are always very intuitive, not only for the students, not only for the audience, but for us as well. And definitely, I already see certain comments in the chat box and they've started asking questions. Just to set the context right, and as you mentioned, that, we'll be talking about certain questions, we'll be talking about how does a mock interview, this is sort of going to be a mock interview, but how does a behavioral assessment uh, you know play when it comes to hiring, and what are the key parameters, and what is the expectation is something that we should be understanding first, right? I think in the previous session we discussed in length about um, how do we answer certain questions, correct? And today we'll be talking about that when we answer those questions, what is the expectation as a recruiter that I have, correct? And as you mentioned yourself, and you asked this question that, if I'm an HR professional, what do I look out for in a candidate? And when you began the session, you mentioned that perfection is not something that we should be running behind. It's all about preparation. It's all about that journey that you have, kind of experienced and reached at the stage of an interview. So, when we talk about certain types of parameters, या फिर मैं ये कहूँ कि एज एन इंटरव्यूअर मैं क्या देखती हूँ एक कैंडिडेट में, so that he gets hired or she gets hired. So the very first thing that you know when as soon as the interviewer enters the room is the kind of etiquettes that the person has followed. करेक्ट, दैट्स माय फर्स्ट पैरामीटर. ऑफ कोर्स रेज्यूमे मैंने आपका देख लिया तो मुझे थोड़ा बहुत आपके बारे में पता है कि ये आपका कॉलेज है, ये आपने किया है, आप एक्सपीरियंस्ड हैं कि नहीं है, अगर आप एक्सपीरियंस्ड हैं तो आपने कितना काम किया है. बट व्हेन यू एंटर the room, I am looking at the kind of decency with which you enter, that sometimes we are over excited to give an interview और हम जल्दबाजी में भूल जाते हैं that we need to behave in a certain way. सो एक तो सबसे पहले वो चीज है. दूसरा है जो मैं हमेशा सबको बोलती हूँ, दैट द फर्स्ट आंसर दैट यू गिव एंड द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन दैट एज अ प्रोफेशनल आई आस्क, either I will drive the interview or you will drive the interview. If you have given me substantial amount of matter to speak, then probably मेरा इंटरव्यू आपकी उसी चीजों में से प्रोसीड करेगा. अगर आपने मुझे बेसिक इंफॉर्मेशन दी है तो मतलब फिर मैं सिर्फ फिर आई विल फाइंड वेज टू ग्रिल यू, बिकॉज व्हाट आई वाज लुकिंग एट इन द फर्स्ट आंसर आई डिड नॉट गेट इट. So, that is another thing. Other than that, and which is very relevant to someone who's written in the chat box that, can you please explain English is compulsory in an interview or not? Now, in English, as I always say, it's a globally recognized language. I am bound to understand English when it is spoken by a Spanish person. I am bound to understand English when someone who belongs to a place like France talks to me in English, then I'll be able to understand. लेकिन मैं French नहीं समझ पाऊंगी, ना ही मैं Spanish समझ पाऊंगी until unless मैंने वो language सीखी है. Correct? And English is by far, it's our second language. करेक्ट. तो वो आना हमारे लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है, मैंडेटरी भी है, बट बोलना ना बोलना हमारे ऊपर है कि हम उसको कब यूज करते हैं, कब नहीं यूज करते हैं. नाउ फॉर एग्जांपल, you know, I am hiring for someone who has to interact with international clients. Now I don't, I can't expect my Spanish client to know Hindi and vice versa. ना ही वो मुझसे एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते कि मेरी टीम में जो लोग हैं वो हिंदी में बात करें और वो समझ जाएं. करेक्ट. तो इट्स इट इज इम्पोर्टेंट, बट कई बार क्या होता है कि हम लोग किसी सिचुएशन में वी आर लाइक स्टक इन अ सिचुएशन जहां पे हमें एक्सप्लेन करना नहीं आ रहा है इंग्लिश में, एंड स्पेशली इन एन इंटरव्यू when I'm stuck, I don't know how to explain a certain thing, I would probably would seek permission that ma'am or sir, or let's say Ishika, that if you don't mind, can I please explain it in Hindi, because I'll be able to explain it better. तो मुझे आपकी आर्टिकुलेशन से भी मतलब है कि अगर आप नहीं एक्सप्लेन कर पा रहे हैं इंग्लिश में तो इट्स ओके, आप हिंदी में एक्सप्लेन अगर आपने वो मुझे चीज कर दी है तो इट इज फाइन, बट देन यू डोंट फॉलो दैट प्रोसेशन ओनली कि मैं बस हिंदी में ही एक्सप्लेन करते चले जाऊं और मैं हिंदी में ही बात करूं. करेक्ट. दिस इज अ प्रोटोकॉल व्हेन इट कम्स टू इंटरव्यू. हम रेज्यूमे इंग्लिश में बनाते हैं, हिंदी में तो नहीं बनाते हैं. करेक्ट. ईमेल लिखते हैं तो हिंदी में नहीं लिखते हैं, इंग्लिश में लिखते हैं. तो हमसे एक्सपेक्टेड है कि जब हम इंटरैक्ट कर रहे हैं तो हम इस हिसाब से बात करें. तीसरी चीज जो मैं आप लोगों में देखूंगी वो है आपकी आइडियोलॉजी क्या है. Correct. When I say ideology, I want to know your thought process, maybe about a situation, maybe about anything that you are saying. And ideologies matter a lot. I'll tell you why. कई बार एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में या जब आप अपने क्लाइंट्स के साथ काम कर रहे हैं तो कुछ कंट्रोवर्शियल चीजें भी हो जाती हैं. Correct. There are certain conflicts also that come in place. Now, when that conflicts come in place, so then can I resolve those conflicts? Am I capable of resolving? Am I capable of making the right decision or not? वो आपकी आइडियोलॉजी से पता चलता है. तो मैं आपसे उस तरह के क्वेश्चंस पूछती हूँ जिससे मुझे आपका थॉट प्रोसेस पता चलेगा. वो कैसे पता चलेगा वो we'll discuss later, when we discuss a lot of questions. Another thing that I will look for in a candidate is that cultural fit, because I know that my team is highly productive, right? Because I know that मेरी पूरी organization में जो team है वो adjusting है और मेरे सामने कोई ऐसा candidate बैठा है who is not budging at all, वो कोई भी चीज कंसिडर नहीं कर रहा. तो मुझे ये पता है दैट अगर ये ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में आएगा तो ये या तो इसकी प्रोडक्टिविटी भी नहीं होगी, इसकी लर्निंग भी नहीं होगी, एंड हो सकता है दैट ही बिकम्स आइसोलेटेड इन एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन व्हिच विल हैम्पर हिज लर्निंग ओनली. सो आई वुड रादर रिफ्रेन फ्रॉम हायरिंग दैट पर्सन. करेक्ट. So there are a couple of things, communication, आपका collaborative nature है कि नहीं, problem solving ideologies हैं कि नहीं, cultural fit है कि नहीं है. So I think these are all in a nutshell when I'm interviewing. Either it's a fresher or an experienced candidate. ये universal रहता है सबके लिए. So that's about it, Ishika.
All right, that's great, Kudrat. And one thing I really liked about is that as a candidate, we can drive the interview in whichever way we want. And
Correct.
Kudrat, there's one question that I want to ask based on your answer is you said something about cultural fit. So, as a HR, what kinds of question will you be typically asking to a candidate to assess whether he or she is culturally fit or not?
All right. So, let me ask you a question and I'll expect an answer from you, and I'm testing a person on culture. Correct. So I would ask you a question which is maybe a situation based question. Let's say I will ask you to probably describe a time wherein you disagreed with your manager
Mm-hmm.
and you had to express that this is what your thought process is, right? So this is something you and me which we discuss on a regular basis. So
Yeah.
sometimes you say no, Kudrat, ये ऐसे नहीं है, ऐसे होना चाहिए, correct? So has there ever been a time between you and me wherein you felt difficult कि मैं convince नहीं हो रही हूँ and I've completely disagreed with you and you had to take that effort to explain? What would be your answer?
So, okay. So, Kudrat, uh, our team used to prepare a lot of presentation, right? And while you gave me a presentation to prepare on resume and cover letter session only, and there was a slide, I was willing to start the slide in a different way. And then you were saying that no, Shika, this is not the right approach. We should rather start in a different way, and that was quite difficult for me, that how to convince you that Kudrat, let's start in this way. So during that time, I tried to find out a common place between you and me, so that some of aspects will be kept likewise I am preferring, and some of the aspect I kept likewise you are preferring. So that's how I found a common point of interaction for both of us. That
Correct.
was my
Very
approach.
rightly, yeah, very rightly mentioned. And this is how it makes me understand that you'll be able to fit in the organization, because one thing, and I must say, and I must appreciate what you said is absolutely on point: common ground. Right? This is what I'm actually looking at. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि आपने मुझे ये जवाब दिया कि ठीक है, आपने या तो मेरे तरीके से कर लिया, that either it's my way or there is no way, but you found out a way to probably
Yes.
convince me that okay, this could be a better thing, or okay, let's say कि 2 points आपके 2 point मेरे, let's just do it that way. Correct? And you explained it to me that this is how the situation is, this is how it should work, etc., etc., whatever. So these are the kind of questions that I would give to understand that okay, how much are you willing to also give in, because कुछ एक roles में आपको negotiate करना पड़ता है, client के साथ बात करनी पड़ती है, जब आप उन clients के साथ बात करते हैं तो यू कांट ऑलवेज गिव इन, राइट? क्योंकि हमारी कंपनीज की भी कुछ पॉलिसीज हैं, आपको उनके साथ भी यू हैव टू अबाइड बाय दोस पॉलिसीज. यू कांट ऑलवेज से दैट द क्लाइंट इज ऑलवेज राइट, ऑल्दो कस्टमर इज किंग फॉर एवरीवन, right?
Exactly.
But there has to be that you have negotiation is just finding that common ground. ना आपकी ना मेरी, चलो 19 नहीं तो 20 सही,
Yes.
है ना? तो
Okay.
इस तरह का होता है.
Okay. So, since we are talking about the situational question, I want to know what is the purpose of asking situational question to a candidate, because at the end they have to work with the technical skills. If someone is from technical background, they are expected to do coding and all the other stuff, right? Then what is the purpose of situational question?
Very good question, Ishika. See, purpose of situational questions again is to understand your adaptability. सबसे पहले तो कि आपको क्वेश्चन समझ आया कि नहीं आया. अगर आपको क्वेश्चन समझ आया है तो आप उसमें कितना ज्यादा फोकस्ड अप्रोच यूज कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जब आप टीम में काम करेंगे तो प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट्स बहुत बड़ी होती हैं, करेक्ट? सो आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड कि आपकी स्ट्रैटेजी क्या रहेगी टू सॉल्व दैट प्रॉब्लम, right? Because ultimately what all the organizations, all the people who are working, what do they basically do? They are just trying to solve certain problems for maybe internal clients or external clients. So I want to understand your tact, your ethics, your morals, your values when I give you a situation to answer. Now, that situation could be a conflict resolution. That situation could be when people are working in a team and you're not able to cope up. How do you cope up? Whether it could be a technical problem to be solved, राइट? हो सकता है कि जो ऑटोमोटिव इंडस्ट्री है या टेस्ला जैसी बड़ी कंपनीज हैं, उनके पास तो प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट्स बहुत ज्यादा रहते होंगे. तो आई वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड कि अगर मैं एक इंजन बना रही हूँ फॉर एग्जांपल, ठीक है, मैं कैसे उसको एफिशिएंट ज्यादा बना सकती हूँ। तो उसमें इफ्स एंड बट्स लगते हैं कि ठीक है, इफ नॉट दिस देन मे बी दिस। तो मुझे रट्टा वाला आंसर नहीं चाहिए, क्योंकि एवरीथिंग इज देयर ऑन गूगल, राइट। सिचुएशन साइकोमेट्रिक टेस्ट कैसे होते हैं, वो आपको सिचुएशंस देते हैं, सिचुएशंस में वो आपसे इंस्टिंक्टिव आंसर मांगते हैं कि अगर आप रोड पे जा रहे हैं, ठीक है, आप अपने इंटरव्यू के लिए लेट हो रहे हैं और आप देखते हैं कि सड़क में कोई एक्सीडेंट हुआ है, तो आप क्या करेंगे, आप हेल्प करेंगे या आप अपने इंटरव्यू के लिए जाएंगे? You have to pick, you have to choose. So then whatever you choose gives me an idea about how the person is. Situation based questions जो होते हैं वो बेसिकली आपका, आई रिपीट अगेन, आपका टैक्ट जानने के लिए होती हैं, आपके एथिक्स, आपके मॉरल्स, आपकी वैल्यूज, आपकी अडेप्टेबिलिटी क्या है, क्या आप किसी सिचुएशन में फेयर रह सकते हैं कि नहीं रह सकते, सही को सही और गलत को गलत बोलने का पोटेंशियल है कि नहीं, राइट। क्योंकि कुछ लोगों में एक ट्रेट होता है टू बी डिप्लोमैटिक, कि नहीं ये भी नहीं और ऐसा भी नहीं और ये भी चलेगा वो भी चलेगा। बट जब आप ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में कोई प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करते हैं तो इट कैन नॉट बी टू वेज, इट हैज टू बी आइदर दिस और दैट। सो हाउ is your thought process is what I'm trying to understand from certain situational questions, correct? And Ishika, I beg your pardon here, I see a question here and I'd like to respond to that question first.
Sure.
Someone says that how should we respond when asked you don't have any experience as freshers in a job interview? And as freshers, it's a challenge because we haven't had the opportunity to gain experience yet. And अगर हम ये सेशन थोड़ा आगे आप सुनते, Avantika, so we had covered this question as well. Now, since you've asked this question and I didn't want to miss it, what happens is that as an individual today, I also started as a fresher. Ishika also started as a fresher, correct? So when I sat for an interview and someone asked me कि आपका experience नहीं है या आप एक complete fresher हैं, तो आप कैसे करेंगे? इसीलिए हम लोग थोड़ा सा फोकस करते हैं कि आप जितनी इंटर्नशिप्स कर सकते हैं उतनी इंटर्नशिप्स करें, आप जितने प्रोजेक्ट्स कर सकते हैं उतने प्रोजेक्ट्स करें, बट कई बार हम लोग इस चीज को सीरियसली नहीं लेते हैं। सो सबसे पहले तो माय सजेशन टू ऑल माय ऑडियंसेस दैट इफ यू कैन do as many internships as you can, which interests your skill, जहां से आपकी upskilling हो रही है, so please do those internships. And if there are any projects that you get, whether it is in the college, in the university, or if let's say a lot of people who pursue our courses, they do a lot of projects with us, so वहां से आपको एक टैक्ट मिल जाता है प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करने का। अब जैसे मेरे पास जीरो एक्सपीरियंस है, ना इंटर्नशिप है ना प्रोजेक्ट है, तो मुझे इंटरव्यूअर को कन्विंस करना है कि आप मुझे हायर कर लो, तो मेरे पास बोलने के लिए एक एडिशन होना चाहिए को करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज का, करेक्ट। एंड आपके कुछ एक इनवॉलंटरी एक्सपीरियंसेस होते हैं जो आपने वैसे ही एक्सपीरियंस किए होते हैं, तो आप उन चीजों को सामने रखते हैं दैट आई एग्री दैट आई एम अ फ्रेशर, एंड व्हेन यू गिव मी एन अपॉर्चुनिटी, ऑफ कोर्स आई विल be in a position to probably solve problems. I'm a quick learner, I'm adaptive. And why do I say that? Because let's say for example, I'm a trained classical dancer, right? So what does trained classical dancer, if I've done that dance for 10 years, that shows discipline, that shows learning, that shows that I was टाइम मैनेजमेंट, दैट आई डिड नॉट प्रोक्रेस्टिनेट, बट मैंने डांस अगर 10 साल किया तो मैं करती रही उस चीज को, तो वहां से भी आप वो चीजें रिलेट कर सकते हैं। लेट्स से कि कोई फोटोग्राफर है, there's a photographer, and then you can tell them that since I'm a photographer and I love photographing people, I have good memory to improvise because I have seen so many things. I've been with nature. If you're a wildlife photographer, you've seen seasons change. You have recorded those seasons and you understand that how things change, and up seasons change से photography से अपने अंदर वो ला सकते हो that I'll be open to change, correct? Because I've seen that nothing remains constant. So you have to pick these things from your experiences earlier, from your hobbies, from your passions. If you're a good reader, correct, आप डिजिटल मार्केटिंग के रोल के लिए जा रहे हैं तो आप बोल सकते हैं दैट आई हैव रेड सो मेनी बुक्स एंड आई एम इनटू कंटेंट राइटिंग इज व्हाई बिकॉज मैंने इतनी सारी बुक्स पढ़ी है तो मुझे पता है कि किसी चीज को कैसे अट्रैक्ट कर सकते हैं, राइट? सो ऐसी ऐसी चीजें जब आप कोरिलेट करते हैं अपनी स्टोरी के साथ, राइट, और आप आंसर देते हैं, आप जवाब देते हैं, तो मेरे को एक चीज समझ आती है दैट नॉट ओनली द पर्सन सिटिंग इन फ्रंट ऑफ मी is capable, but he's also intelligent. Art of storytelling, that is something that we also do in our courses. Art of storytelling, how do you loop your previous journey with the current journey to aspire for the future?
All right, Kudrat. So, Kudrat, while you were answering these questions, a question suddenly popped up into my mind is that
Yeah.
let's say interviewer मेरे से 10 क्वेश्चन पूछा है, so ये तो जरूरी नहीं है ना कि I will answer all the 10 questions. So let's say I only know 7 questions, I don't know 3 questions. So how will I as a candidate approach to that? Or will it hamper my performance if I don't know the 3 questions?
No, Ishika. As long as those 7 questions that you have answered, you've been honest in those answers. करेक्ट? तो ऐसा नहीं, हम मेरी एक्सपेक्टेशन ये नहीं है कि आपने, अगर मैंने आपसे 10 सवाल पूछे तो आपने सबका सही जवाब दिया हो. लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल मैं आपका एक छोटा सा मॉक इंटरव्यू लेती हूँ, आप मुझे उसका जवाब दीजिए, मैं आपको बताती हूँ कि आप कहाँ सही थे और आप कहाँ गलत थे. करेक्ट? हर एक
Okay.
ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में जब आप इंटरव्यू देने जाते हैं, सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन इज introduce yourself. So let's say, although I know Ishika from a really long time, but I'd still like to ask you for your introduction.
Okay. So, thank you, Kudrat. My name is Ishika Kumari, and I hail from Patna, Bihar. I've completed my graduation from Miranda House, University of Delhi, in economics honors. And coming to my professional life, currently I'm Senior Operations Associate at Internshala, and I do have 2 years of work experience in trainings and development team, and working. I'm working with students. So that's all about me.
All right. So I think wonderfully started, Ishika, wherein you started with your introduction, the place where you hail from, correct? Because it gives me a knowledge about your demography as well. ठीक है, कि आप कहाँ से आते हैं. तो एक जब हम थोड़े डिफरेंट डिफरेंट रीजन से आते हैं तो हम एक अलग पर्सोना कैरी करते हैं. सो वो मेरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में डाइवर्सिटी एंड इंक्लूजन करके एक डिपार्टमेंट होता है, उसमें इंक्लूड होता है कि ठीक है, मेरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में सिर्फ दिल्ली से ही नहीं है लोग, ऑल ओवर इंडिया हैं. सो दिस इज अ प्राउड थिंग फॉर एनी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. Second is, I'd like to quickly, what should I say? आपको मैं यहाँ पे बताऊंगी दैट whenever you are explaining yourself and जब आपका experience होता है, so you talk about your experience first, then about your education.
Okay,
Right?
okay.
Now, let's say if I have to explain myself, if I'm introducing myself, I would say that my name is Kudrat Sharma. I'm basically or ethnically from Shimla, Himachal Pradesh, right? Currently, I'm working as an AVP and Internshala. These are the few responsibilities. Prior to this, I've worked for 3, 4 organizations. I'll give them a few details. Then I will talk about my education. I'm in master's in marketing and HR as a specialization. My graduation and my junior college, my school has been from Shimla, correct? Then I'd like to talk a little bit about my internship, what I did, a little bit about my projects, and then I'll give a little bit of detail as to something that I really am passionate about. Let's say I'm a good reader, I've read these books, or I would give that probably in my free time. Now, this is something that it's a candid communication or interaction that happens when you are slightly experienced. That, as part of my personal space, I'd like to do this, whatever I like to do. I like to read, or probably like to dance, or probably like to, volunteer for an NGO or something like that. So this side, wherein I'm volunteering for an NGO, also gives a lot of insight about my personal life to the interviewer. That okay, we could involve this person into our corporate social responsibilities also. He or she would be of good help if at all, you have that side. So I'm just saying. So otherwise it was fine, but you didn't give me too much to ask you questions from there. Then I'll ask questions from outer space. Then I will not ask questions from Ishika's space, right?
Thank you,
So
Kudrat. Thank you for the feedback. So yes, I think that this is insightful for me also and for the students also who are watching this session. So
absolutely,
you said that for an experienced professional they have to start with their work experience and then they have to move forward to the education qualification. All right, and we have to cover a few more aspects so that the interviewer can ask questions based on what I said. All right.
absolutely. The more information you give, the more he listens to you, the more he will stop reading your resume for a moment and just listen and probably articulate or probe you a little more कि ठीक है आपने ये किया है, ये इसके बाद ये क्यों किया, क्योंकि कई बार हमारे पास कुछ ऐसे स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं जो करियर स्विच मार रहे हैं from
Hmm.
sales to HR, from BSc mathematics to data science or something like that. ठीक है, तो वो चीज मुझे तब पता चलेगी जब आप मुझे बताएंगे आपके सीवी में वो चीज है, बट कई बार वो ओवरलुक हो जाती है. करेक्ट. Let me
Exactly.
ask you another question, Ishika. Um, Now, let's say since you're working from 2 years, how do
Yes.
you encourage your peers, or now you have a separate team than me? How do you probably encourage your peers to approach any problem? Let's say there is a problem that I had cited something urgent. There was a deadline that you had to achieve, but they failed to deliver on time.
So, Kudrat, I'm really nervous about how to answer this question. So, can you help me in that?
मे बी आपके पास कोई डेडलाइन थी जो आपने अचीव नहीं की, एंड माइंड इट ऑल द ऑडियंस, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है जो इशिका ने डेडलाइन मीट नहीं की है. इट्स जस्ट लाइक अ क्वेश्चन दैट आई हैव पुट इन फ्रंट ऑफ हिम, front of her, sorry. So I think Ishika played a little well here that she didn't answer the question. वो इसलिए क्योंकि कई बार ऐसी सिचुएशंस पे हम लोग जवाब नहीं दे पाते हैं, and then we stay quiet. There are two ways with which you can answer this question. Number one is maybe you don't know the answer to the question. So you say that I beg your pardon, I do not know the answer to this question. Can we please move on to the next question? But ये एक ऐसा क्वेश्चन है जिसके पास आपके पास अगर जवाब नहीं भी है तो आप कुछ रिलेट करके जवाब दे जरूर सकते हैं. करेक्ट. अब मैंने पूछा, कुछ अर्जेंट था तो आपने नहीं दिया, तो इशिका played well played, Ishika here. But the answer to this question would be, and I think Ishika will continue, I'll just give a briefer and then Ishika will answer the question. क्योंकि अगर एक टास्क कंप्लीट नहीं होता है तो उसके रेपरकशंस ना ही सिर्फ इशिका पे, बट इशिका से ऊपर मेरे पे, मेरे से ऊपर बाकी लोगों पे भी पड़ते हैं. नंबर वन. नंबर टू, आप प्रॉब्लम आइडेंटिफाई कर रहे हैं कि ये आपको दिया गया था, आपने क्यों नहीं किया, क्या प्रॉब्लम आई. नहीं था आप मेरे पास आते, राइट. तो एक्सप्लेन करना हर एक चीज को कि इसलिए नहीं कर पाई, आप मुझे कल बता देते कि ये नहीं हो पाएगा, मैं डेडलाइन एक्सटेंड कर देती. नाउ आई हैव टू face the heat. I have to cut a sorry figure in front of Kudrat, and Kudrat will have to cut a sorry figure उनके बॉस के पास, and then that boss will have to cut a sorry figure to the owner of the organization, right?
Kudrat, I
Ishika,
remember a time.
would you like to
So,
say something?
yeah, I remember a time when you asked me to work on a data, and the head asked you, and you asked me to work on the data. And then I asked the one of the intern who was working with me to work on that data. But since we were not able, he was not able to deliver to it on time. So, and that's how I was not able to deliver to you on time. And you faced repercussion from the person who assigned you task, and then I face a repercussion from you, and then it was on loop. So I think this data task is something that I can relate to.
Yeah, so it often happens because um, at one level मैं आपको कितना प्रेशर दे रही हूँ, आप उतना प्रेशर अपने इंटर्न को नहीं दे सकते, राइट. जितना
Exactly.
प्रेशर मेरे ऊपर आ रहा है मैं आपको भी नहीं वो कर सकती, कुछ चीजें मैं खुद करूंगी, कुछ चीजें मैं आपसे एक्सपेक्ट करूंगी, तो ऐसी सिचुएशंस हो जाती हैं. Although the correct way to answer this sort of a question is to be very honest that this is what happened and I had to face the heat. Because जितना honesty के साथ आप कोई भी जवाब देंगे ना, तो वो एक रिक्रूटर हो चाहे कोई भी इंटरव्यू ले रहा हो, वो रेजोनेट करता है उस चीज के साथ, दैट ओके फाइन, ये नॉर्मल सिचुएशंस में होता है. लेकिन अगर मैं इसको बहुत इनडायरेक्टली बोलूं, इट हैज नेवर हैपेंड, आई हैव नेवर मिस्ड अ डेडलाइन. ऐसा कभी नहीं होता दैट अ पर्सन डज नॉट मेक अ मिस्टेक. वी आर bound to make mistakes as human, right?
Got
Ishita, let me
got
ask you another question. This is
Yeah,
fun.
yeah,
It feels like I'm interviewing again. All right.
yeah.
So, what has been your biggest achievement so far?
Okay. So that's an interesting question. And I would like to say that I joined Internshala as an intern. And right now I am Senior Operation Associate in Trainings and Development team. So I would like to say that I have climbed up the ladder quickly because of my hard work and my zeal to excel in my career. And that kept me motivated to achieve my targets and to cross the hurdles that came across my way. And additionally, I have trained three interns in my team, and two of them have converted into full time associates. And that has only made possible because of the interpersonal skills and the communication skills that I developed over a period of time. So I guess
Very
that's
well.
my
Very well.
achievement.
So, very nicely said. And as your boss, I'm proud of that. So
Thank you.
I'll flip it to the other side that let's say I'm a fresher and I'm been asked this question that what has been your biggest achievement so far. So सबसे पहले तो जब मैं आपसे ये question पूछ रही हूँ, मैं ये आपसे जानना चाहती हूँ. I don't probably want to know what your achievement has been, but I want to understand that what makes you happy, in the sense that whether this person is a jolly person, छोटी छोटी चीजें इसको खुश करती हैं, या फिर it takes a lot of effort for the person to get happy. Now as a fresher, maybe I don't have a lot of achievements, but maybe when you attain 98% marks and your parents were proud of it, this is what made you happy and you thought that this was my achievement. Or let's say I was the head boy in the in my school, that was an achievement because again my parents were proud and I was myself proud. Or it could be for someone that किसी को किसी की हेल्प करके बहुत अच्छी अचीवमेंट मिलती है, खुद को अच्छा लगता है that okay, this has been my achievement, that I saved some money, I was able to help a few poor people. This is also an achievement. So एक achievement सिर्फ victory achievement नहीं होती है कि हम लोग we've grown up the ladder, and I really appreciate that you said that you this is an achievement for you. But for someone who's a fresher, उसको लगता है कि मुझे ये जवाब देना कैसे है, अचीवमेंट मेरी तो अभी तक कुछ हुई नहीं है. लेकिन ऐसा नहीं होता. These small things are also achievement, which talks a lot about your persona, your personality, your character that way, your attitude that way. Because कुछ लोगों को आदत होती है nothing makes them happy. There also has to be a reason behind it, but then they're also not able to express it that way. कि क्यों ये अगर मेरे लिए let's say ये achievement हो सकती है that I did my work on time, that's also a biggest achievement. Because हो सकता है कि मैं procrastinator थी पहले, तो मैं अब अपने टास्क खत्म कर लूं, मेरे लिए वही अचीवमेंट है. So there's no harm in being candid about your achievement, but then your approach to answer the question does not have to be casual. It has to be very, very professional. As I said, when you enter the room, I try to see your etiquettes first, how the person has, what aura that person has bought for me, whether it's a positive or a negative aura, right?
Got it. Good.
So, Ishika, let me ask you another question.
Yeah, sure, Kudrat.
And this is definitely
Yeah.
going to be the last one. Okay. Then we can move ahead. What do you like to do in your free time?
All right. So, Kudrat, as you know me, that I'm a social person. I love interacting with working professional and different people from my friends and whom I don't know also. So, in my free time, I would love to interact with different people, new people, and I feel that that gives me a motivation to, that gives me a sense of happiness that I'm doing something good, I'm working on my communication skills also, and that I can apply on my professional life also. Other than that, I love watching movies, I love writing journal and poetries. So I
Great,
think that
great.
answers that.
Sometimes, when I'm wanting to know a little bit more personalized approach towards a candidate, I ask this question that, what do you like to do in your free time? And sometimes the answer that I get, nothing. That's not an answer. Because ऐसा नहीं होता कि जब आप खाली बैठे हैं आप कुछ ना करें until unless you're meditating. But some people have some people are really big movie buffs. They lot watch a lot of Netflix, a lot of Amazon, these Prime videos, etc., etc. And then my next question to them is, what kind of movies? Maybe someone is interested in science fiction, someone is interested in rom-coms, or there are a lot of genres that you walk kind of like. Then I get certain question answers like that, I love driving. What do you love the most about driving? What all places have you been in driving? So मेरे को एक ये भी पता चल जाता है कि कहीं आप झूठ तो नहीं बोल रहे हैं, just to fetch the opportunity. But this gives me an insight into your पर्सनल स्पेस कि ये सिर्फ प्रोफेशनली ही स्किल सेट अच्छा नहीं है, बट पर्सनली ऑल्सो ही इज अ गुड पर्सन, विच ऑल्सो टॉक्स अ लॉट अबाउट योर कल्चरल फिट,
Got it,
राइट?
Kudrat.
बिकॉज घर से ज्यादा टाइम हम ऑफिस में बिताते हैं, about 40 hours in a week, 40 to 45 hours in a week spent in the office or working. So then that has to be your safe space also, and that has to be your growing space also. So I will be only able to give you that growing space when I know a little bit more about you. करेक्ट? और मैं देखूंगी कि मेरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में ये है कि नहीं है, कि ये कर पाएंगे फिट इन कि नहीं कर पाएंगे, right? And Ishika, we can see for certain questions if there are any in the chat box.
Yes,
However, I
Kudrat.
don't at the moment see.
So, at the moment, I can't see any question. Sudhanshu has written a question, ma'am. How can we prepare for MNC companies?
So there is no difference in an MNC or any or domestic organization. I think if today I hire for a data scientist role, likewise Capgemini would also hire, likewise Google will also hire. It's just that their problem statements could be bigger than my problem statements. My problem statement could be a little smaller. Second, having said that, your preparation for working in an MNC is that you have to be of a mindset to let go of certain things, right? I know this is a very vague statement to make because ये mock interview चल रहा है और आप मुझसे एक preparation की बात कर रहे हैं. But when you work in a corporate and when you transition from classrooms to boardrooms, there's a big difference. It is a complete shocker for people who are not ready to change. सबसे पहले तो आपको जो अपने दिमाग में ये चीज बिठानी है कि आपको अगर चेंज आपसे बोला जाएगा करने के लिए फॉर द बेटर, आपके लिए उतना ही अच्छा है, ठीक है? दूसरी चीज ये है कि आपको जब आप प्रिपरेशन की बात करते हैं तो आपको एक तो कंपनी की डिटेल्स के बारे में पता होना चाहिए, जॉब रोल क्या है उस बारे में आपको क्लियर पता होना चाहिए कि आप क्या करना चाह रहे हैं, ठीक है? Another thing is that you need to read a lot about its competitors also. Let's say कि मैं डिलॉयट में अप्लाई कर रही हूँ तो मैं EY का भी देखूंगी, एक्सेंचर भी ढूंढूंगी, क्योंकि कई बार कॉमनैलिटीज होती हैं और उन कॉमनैलिटीज से कोई गैप निकलता है तो कोई तीसरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन खड़ी कर देता है, ठीक है? तो आपको बहुत बहुत वाउचफुल रहना पड़ता है चीजों के लिए, एंड आपका जो स्किल सेट है, चाहे वो हार्ड स्किल है लाइक पाइथन, चाहे वो सॉफ्ट स्किल है लाइक कॉन्फिडेंस, कम्युनिकेशन, दैट हैज टू बी वेरी वेरी आई वुड से प्रॉम्प्ट, एंड रिस्ट्रिक्शन नहीं होनी चाहिए कि अच्छा मुझे किसी ने ये फीडबैक दिया कि आपका कॉन्फिडेंस इज नॉट गुड या आपका कम्युनिकेशन इज नॉट गुड, तो मैं इम्प्रूव नहीं करूंगी, मैं जैसी हूं मैं वैसे ही रहूंगी. किसी ने बोला है कि पाइथन कि ये आप टूल यूज कर सकते हैं, तो आपको उस चीज को रोकना नहीं है कि आप नहीं कर सकते, आप कर सकते हैं, ठीक है? सो एवरीथिंग हैज अ everything comes with a responsibility, and you should be open to learn as much as you can.
Okay. Okay, Udit, there is one more question by Prem Sagar. He's saying, hello ma'am, I'm pursuing BSc Computer Science with Data Analytics. And what is the future of that? Also from IIT. I think he's pursuing it from IIT. He wants to know the future of data analytics.
So any which ways, when we talk about data science as a field, if I'm not taking your computer science at the moment, ठीक है, बहुत सारी ऐसी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस हैं जो अब डेटा साइंस की तरफ ही चल रही हैं, and बहुत सारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस ये देखती हैं कैंडिडेट में कि एक्सेल कितना आता है, वो चाहे आप डेटा साइंस के हो चाहे नहीं हो, विच आई मिस्ड एज अ पॉइंट इन टॉकिंग इन वन ऑफ माय आंसर्स, कि अगर आपको एक्सेल आना, चाहे आप एचआर के रोल के लिए जा रहे हो चाहे आप प्रॉपर डेटा साइंस के रोल के लिए जा रहे हो, आपको एक्सेल आना जरूरी होता है. हैविंग सेड दैट, एक बैचलर्स ऑफ साइंस, कंप्यूटर साइंस एंड डेटा साइंस, इट्स अ वेरी निश फील्ड बट इट्स अ वेरी बूमिंग फील्ड. People working or studying BSc computer science can go into IT organization wherein there are lot of, let's say, sometimes there are IT architects also, ठीक है, जो आपकी हर एक प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करते हैं. आईटी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर्स होते हैं, प्रोग्रामर्स होते हैं जो डेटाबेसेस के ऊपर काम करते हैं. डेटा एनालिस्ट इज समथिंग डिफरेंट. वो आपका कंप्यूटर साइंस में भी रहता है और डेटा साइंस में भी रहता है, पर जब आप इन दोनों को क्लब कर देते हैं, देन यू बिकम मोर ऑफ अ डेटा आर्किटेक्ट. जैसे आप डेटा माइनिंग भी कर सकते हैं, ठीक है, एंड इसका फ्यूचर इज देयर टू स्टे, इसका फ्यूचर इज देयर टू इम्प्रोवाइज, इट विल नेवर स्टॉप, right? And I think he also writes that the main course is data science, and I think it's a very, as I said, it's a very niche field, but when it comes to the sector जिसमें आप जॉब कर सकते हैं, all sectors are open to computer science and data scientists, ठीक है. Majorly, if you see आजकल healthcare as a sector post COVID has grown massively, right, with lot of data people getting hired for some analysis work, for data mining work, right, for certain administrative types of work. So you could also, with this sort of a background, can also go into consulting. You can become a consultant as well, correct? There's a new profile which I was reading an article recently, something called as business intelligence analyst, a new profile that has come, wherein people are hiring people, candidates with computer science or electrical and telecommunication plus data science as a plus. So there are variety of career paths that as a graduate from BSc computer science and data science you can pursue. It's just that इसमें बहुत सारी चीजें हैं, तो आपको एक चीज समझनी ये जरूरी है कि आप सब चीजें नहीं कर सकते, ठीक है. आप एक फील्ड पकड़िए, एक टूल पकड़िए या एक टेक्नोलॉजी पकड़िए या दो ऐसी टेक्नोलॉजीज पकड़िए जो आपस में रेजोनेट करती हैं, जैसे आई थिंक पावर बीआई एंड द अदर वन. सो यू कैन get a hold of those technologies and just grill yourself and study with regards to that.
All right, I guess that answered his question. Kudrat, I would like to ask one question in behalf of the entire students. So, so many students have gap year, and
Hmm.
sometimes they are changing the career also, and they are so much confused about how to address when they are asked about their gap year or changes in the career.
Hmm.
What will you suggest to them?
So, it's okay to have a gap. सबसे पहले तो it's okay to change your career from one domain to another. There is no harm. ठीक है. उस चीज को जस्टिफाई करना आपकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. कुछ लोग ब्रेक लेते हैं फॉर अ मेडिकल इशू, तो यू हैव टू बी ऑनेस्ट दैट यू हैड अ मेडिकल इशू, तो आपने इसलिए गैप लिया. दूसरी चीज होती है कि आपने मजे के लिए गैप लिया, राइट, आपने उसमें कुछ नहीं किया. So nowadays, gaps or a break has become okay because COVID may, people have suffered a lot. So that's where we understand that, if you've taken a break, you might have taken a break for probably your mental peace or whatever. But then you have to be very very honest about it. Second is, आप upskilling कर रहे थे, आप छोटी मोटी freelancing gigs कर रहे थे, या फिर हो सकता है कि you were just waiting for the right opportunity. So you be very honest about it. But आपके पास कुछ एक्स्ट्रा भी होना चाहिए कि ठीक है, मैं खाली बैठा था लेकिन मैं साइड बाय साइड प्रॉब्ली अपना पैशन फॉलो कर रहा था, मैं फोटोग्राफी कर रहा था, डांसिंग सिखा रहा था, या फिर मैं एक लाइब्रेरी, बिकॉज आई एम अ रीडर, तो मैं लाइब्रेरी ऑफ एंड ऑन जाता था, या आई वाज डूइंग अ लॉट ऑफ एनजीओ वर्क, और क्या हो सकता है, यू जस्ट हैव टू रेजोनेट विद व्हाट यू वर डूइंग. दूसरा है कमिंग फ्रॉम अ डिफरेंट बैकग्राउंड, गोइंग टू अ डिफरेंट बैकग्राउंड, absolutely fine, as long as you are able to help me understand that you're coming from that background. आपने वो क्यों छोड़ा, ठीक है, और आप इसमें उसकी क्या चीजें लेके आए हैं. ठीक है, जैसे हो सकता है कि मैं एक सेल्स ओरिएंटेड बैकग्राउंड से आई हूँ, जा रही हूँ डिजिटल मार्केटिंग में. तो क्या मतलब वाई, पहले तो डिजिटल मार्केटिंग इज अ बूमिंग फील्ड, एवरीबडी वांट्स टू गो देयर. सेल्स में मैंने कस्टमर को बहुत अच्छे से समझा, तो मैं अब कंटेंट अच्छे से बना सकती हूँ, फिर चाहे वो किसी भी चीज का. मुझे अपने कस्टमर के नर्व्स पकड़ लिए, मतलब दिस इज हाउ द स्लैंग इज, कि मैंने देख लिया है कि हाउ द कस्टमर्स फंक्शन, व्हाट आर देयर एक्सपेक्टेशन, व्हाट एल्स कैन आई डू फॉर देम, एंड नाउ बेसिस दैट आई कैन मार्केट अ प्रोडक्ट. I can write, I can make templates, I can do that. So any experience that you have is not irrelevant. आपने कुछ भी किया हो पहले, बस आपको उसमें से कंक्लूजन ड्रॉ करके अपने करंट जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन जो आप पढ़ रहे हैं, जिसमें अप्लाई कर रहे हैं, जिसके लिए इंटरव्यू दे रहे हैं, उसको आपको उसके साथ ब्लेंड करना है. दैट्स इट.
Wonderfully answered, Kutra. Thank you so much. I guess this is helpful for all the students because most of the students have taken a gap year and then they are restarting their career. One more question is asked over the chat box by Prem Sagar is asking that, ma'am, I want to learn another skill that can boost. So, what skill is best for me with the current course?
See, as a data science person that you're pursuing, right? Computer science. I think he's the same guy. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
computers and data science you're doing together. So वैसे भी एक बहुत निश वो है, और डेटा साइंस में आप मशीन लर्निंग पढ़ रहे हैं, डेटा विजुअलाइजेशन पढ़ रहे हैं, प्रॉब्ली बिग डेटा पढ़ रहे हैं. तो आप कुछ ऐसे टूल्स वो कर सकते हैं जो यूनिवर्सली बहुत लोग यूज करते हो, जैसे सैस है, या फिर आई एम नॉट गेटिंग, MATLAB is also there, I guess. Then something to do with predictive analysis, because कोई भी organization अगर data visualize करती है या data के साथ कुछ भी करते हैं, तो वो हमेशा predictions या forecasting के लिए use होता है. तो you can't be vague. आप वेग नहीं हो सकते उस चीज में कि इसके बेसिस के ऊपर ऐसा हो सकता है. प्रिडिक्टिव एनालिसिस में आपको थोड़ा बहुत सिखाया जाता है दैट हाउ कैन यू यूज हार्डवेयर एंड सॉफ्टवेयर सॉल्यूशंस फॉर सर्टेन डिस्कवरीज या इवैल्यूएशन, सो दैट यू कैन डिप्लॉय योर रिसोर्सेज अकॉर्डिंगली. करेक्ट. एंड बट व्हाट यू ऑल्सो हैव टू रिमेंबर इज कि प्रिडिक्टिव एनालिसिस जो होता है वो बहुत ज्यादा रिलाय करता है कि आपका आई थिंक बिग डेटा के ऊपर. बिग डेटा इज ऑन योर क्लाउड, सो हाउ वेल इंटीग्रेटेड your big data is with the cloud based technologies. So I'm just giving you like an option, right? Since you have so he writes here that he's already learned MATLAB, so then I think you should go for SAS, because a lot of people are going for it. Then you can learn a little bit about in that article, I think, which talked about business intelligence analyst. It talked a little bit about quantum computing, if I'm not wrong. it has begun to emerge now. It basically is to develop your certain innovative forms of computing. How do you influence it? I think it is about influencing data science and offering solutions to complex problems innovatively and quickly. So I think one could be that. So yeah, I think these are certain things that you can also include in what you have been doing.
All right. Wonderfully answered, Kudrat. Kudrat, I would like to, I can see that there are no more questions over the chat box. I would like to ask one question. One of my friend was giving interviews a few days back and he was answered a question that was a kind of negative question that he mentioned. Is that what if we don't select you for this job? What will you do? So, how do you think that candidates should approach for these kinds of questions? And are these really a negative question? What is the motto behind it?
No, I don't think it's a negative question. When I'm asking you that, what if I don't hire you? I want to understand your eagerness to get hired,
All
right?
right.
Let's say people ask me this question that, what if we don't hire you? So you say that, I had prepared, I am so prepared for it that if you don't hire me, probably you will have to hire me only as a candidate, because, you have, this has to be with confidence that you will find no one, who could blend with the organization, who understands the organization very well, who have worked on सो एंड सो, मे बी जॉब डिस्क्रिप्शन में से कुछ चीजें पूछ के आप दे सकते हैं जवाब, दैट this is how I will help you in the organization and I'm here to learn. Even if it does not happen, probably I'll leave it at a good note and I will hope that our roads cross again soon. But it's just um, a very conducive answer it requires. You can't say कि ठीक है फिर मैं और organizations में apply कर लूंगा, वो तो फिर आप कर ही सकते हैं, although उनको भी पता है कि आप apply कर रहे होंगे और आप interviews दे रहे होंगे और जा रहे होंगे interviews के लिए. Problem वो नहीं है. All they are just wanting to is your eagerness and how can you convince.
Got it, Kudrat. So, I cannot see any questions now over the chat box. So, I guess, Kudrat, we should end the session over here. And
All
it
right.
was really nice to interact with you, and you have shared a lot of knowledge. And I guess that is going to help a lot of freshers who are right now attending the session. And thank you so much, Kudrat, for joining the session.
All right, Ishika, thank you so much. There's just one thing that I'd like to address. There's
Yeah,
one person who's written that most of the jobs post on Internshala are fake. Kushagra, I would like to just say that, probably you'll have to check all the organizations that you believe are fake. Because if you see Internshala as a portal, it's run on authenticity. We kind of re-verify and recheck all the opportunities that get posted on the platform. There could be a slight error if you are seeing any sort of opportunities which are not valid. I wouldn't say fake. Maybe the application date is over. Maybe the person jiska number us pe diya hua has moved on to the other organization if you try contacting them. So there'll be all sorts of things. So I just wanted to address that so that we leave the session with all our questions answered.
exactly. So, thank you, Kudrat, for blessing us with your knowledge.
Thank you
And
so
over
much.
here, all right. So, there's one more question by Prem Sagar, Kudrat, and I guess we should pick it up. Is that, ma'am, should you suggest a plus point for adding in a resume that can boost this? I think he's talking about data analytics scores only.
Uh, I mean, I really did not understand, but I think in a resume there's a proper session that we've done on a resume as to what should be mentioned, what not should be mentioned. But I think in the resume, the maximum that I could say, and to cut it short, is the more crisper, the more aligned your resume is according to the job description that you're applying to. is something that I, as a person, will always look out for. And the second and the most important thing, which everybody forgets, is the file name. It's always saved as 1 2 3 4 5 my resume, or 2 3 4 my resume, or data science resume. तो मेरे को फाइल नेम देख के नहीं पता चल रहा है कि वो इशिका का resume है, जब तक आप उसमें अपना नाम नहीं मेंशन करेंगे. So I think this comes to my mind. I mean, I could go a lot into detail, but I don't want to really take up much time. So
Exactly, because we have another session over the YouTube that talks separately only about YouTube resume and cover letter. So you
yes,
all can check that video as well.
correct.
So, all right. So thank you so much, everyone, for
Thank you,
joining
everyone.
in to be a part for this session. And we wish you all the very best. And we wish you get good jobs, internships. And thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Gudrat.
Thank you so much, Ishika. Thank you for being a lovely moderator as always. And thanks to the audience as well.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much. Pleasure is all ours. And we wish you happy Diwali in advance. And we also wish you a very happy weekend ahead. Thank you.
Exactly. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you.